Good evening. Thank you for watching a brief update in English on our current affairs. Today we focus on the former Prime Minister, Joseph Muscat, and his resignation, and also his life going forward. Is he a private citizen? With me in the studio, I've got Dr. Jason Azzopardi and Dr. Therese Comodini Cachia. Thank you once again for joining us.
Long time no see.
Thank you. I'd like to refer, first of all, to this visual that we're seeing, something that's been posted by Michel Muscat, I believe after the former Prime Minister's resignation, to say the rest of our lives starts here. Is Joseph Muscat a private citizen?
First of all, Joseph Muscat can never be a private citizen. Someone who has been the Prime Minister of a country never really becomes a private citizen. They remain under obligations towards that country, they remain under ethical obligations towards that country, and they remain shouldering the responsibility of acting in a professional manner, in an ethical manner, and also of acting in the best interest of the public. He will also remain holding responsibilities towards his Labour Party. And therefore, his resignation will certainly not make him automatically a private person. But you've shown this Facebook post of Michel Muscat, and where she says the rest of our life starts here. What it reminds me of is actually her former post, which says we will make the best of this. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, sure, the rest of your life will start here if you've made the best of your husband being Prime Minister.
Yes.
And I know that sounds very cynical, but with a Prime Minister, with a former Prime Minister who has shamed this country to such an extent that I haven't seen in my lifetime, to such an extent that he was awarded the award for being the most corrupt Prime Minister in Europe, then I think even our spectators, even our audience, will forgive my cynicism to that comment. But it is really and truly very frustrating. It's very frustrating for everyone, for all our citizens who have really been hit by the brunt of the consequences of how Joseph Muscat ran this country, to then be faced with such photos on the public social media. It is really an affront to everyone in this country who holds this country dear and close to their heart. Because Joseph Muscat represents a Prime Minister who has decimated democracy in Malta, who has decimated the rule of law in our country. He remains the Prime Minister under whose leadership we've had the worst corruption allegations, the highest number of inquiries being carried out by magistrates in relation to people who he has protected within his own fold, the highest number of magisterial inquiries and police investigations into corruption, bribery, and money laundering against Conrad Mizzi and Keith Cambry, just to name a few, whom he protected in their positions. Yes. We've heard in the testimony of the public inquiry, each MP, each member of parliament, each member of cabinet who has testified, they've stated that following the Panama Papers, the revelation of the Panama Papers, they advised Joseph Muscat to order the resignation or to seek the resignation of Conrad Mizzi and Keith Cambry. Despite that, he kept them by his side.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so, you know, to now think that you've just become a private citizen, or to now think that just because you resigned, you've done any good to this country, I really don't buy into that attitude.
Sure. Dr. Azzopardi, first of all, were you surprised with his resignation? And secondly, what are the implications of the investigations that are still going on once he has resigned?
Okay, so in the very short term, more news will come out throwing more light about the corruption which Joseph Muscat was immersed in and cultivated around him. But let's start step by step. Mela, surprised? No. It was a known fact during summer. It was an open secret during summer that he will be resigning during the summer recess. If anything, the surprise was, why did he leave it up to the very first day of the resumption of parliamentary business last Monday? But that's number one. Number two, something happened during summer which I think can shed some light. Now, during summer, there was an article, I think it was in Malta Today. The Justice Minister proposed to Cabinet a bill dealing with unexplained wealth. So basically you have this UK legislation, unexplained wealth order. So, an example, you have an income of X, but you buy property costing X plus Y plus Z plus A, B, and C. And immediately there's a body, an entity which investigates because there is a reasonable suspicion that there is illicit criminal activity. July this was, last July. Cabinet shut it down. There was an uproar in Cabinet. Now, it's an open secret that Joseph Muscat is living beyond his declared means, declared in annual parliamentary returns, declarations. It's an open secret that he's spending thousands every month tuition fees for his children. It's an open secret that as a family, they go abroad, and they went abroad very often to very expensive places, spending tens of thousands, not hundreds, tens of thousands, even on a single trip. But at the same time, the bank balance, as declared in the annual return in Parliament, remained constant, 70,000. Didn't budge by €1, which of course is not credible. Now, could it be that there's a link between Cabinet shooting down the proposal to have a bill on unexplained wealth and Joseph Muscat's postponement of his decision to resign or not? Whatever that is, he will be the subject of investigation. And as more time passes and more people come forward with more information, documentary and non-documentary, I think I have reason to believe that Joseph Muscat will need to have sleepless nights. And so Joseph Muscat, he's politically out of power, yes, but of course, legally speaking, he is extremely relevant. And the corruption that, as Ranier Sadni pointed out in an article, 3 days ago in the Times, every contract in which he was involved, signal contract, major contract, is the subject of a major magisterial inquiry. And not as a result of, or thanks to him, but as a result and thanks to the former leader of the opposition, Simon Busuttil, in spite of Joseph Muscat and Keith Cambri's objections in 2017. But it's not true that Malta is stronger. Malta is weaker. As Therese was saying, he decimated the rule of law. Malta has become, just imagine, the rule of law report issued by the Commission, by the European Commission last week or 2 weeks ago, dedicates to Malta the highest number of mentions. Malta is the #1 country, for the wrong reasons, mentioned amongst the whole lot of EU member states. Secondly, it says that Malta has, quote, deep corruption patterns, close quote. In other words, mafia state. Thirdly, impunity. The huge number of cases where criminal action was not taken in case of money laundering led to impunity. And you know what that led to. This is the legacy of Joseph Muscat, the state capture of institutions. what's coming out in the public inquiry showing institutions which are there on paper but don't have the backbone to stand up and do their duty and carry out their duty, you know. So Joseph Muscat, I'm pretty sure that as Therese said, he has the dubious honor of being the only Maltese to be awarded the most corrupt politician of the world title, 2019. But as more information progresses, coming from the Jurgen Fenech compilation, from Electrogas, Vitals, all these major contracts and deals in which he, directly or indirectly, was involved, I think there are pleasures yet to come.
Sure. I mean, we can't, I think, be speaking about his resignation without referring to E-Grant. Do you think that's going to be resurrected again?
One would never know if that is going to be resurrected again, but what is certain, as Jason was saying before, is that there is a lifestyle that could be put under the spotlight and could be investigated. Even though the draft legislation that Jason was referring to was shot down at cabinet level, that does not mean that under other pieces of legislation, such an investigation could be initiated. I think this is a more important aspect that we need to be following as time goes by. Understandably, the police are already dealing with a lot of investigations because the police deal with the same investigations that the magistrates are inquiring upon. They usually collaborate and cooperate there. But one also has to see whether those magisterial inquiries, what those magisterial inquiries will have to say about Joseph Muscat.
Sure, it leaves everything open-ended. What do you think, in your opinion, will Mr. and Mrs. Muscat be doing as private citizens until all this is solved now?
I have absolutely no idea, and I have no interest in knowing what they will be up to. Definitely, they will be, and they should be, definitely worried, because it's not just Maltese law enforcement, which slowly, very slowly, but at last slowly moving in the right direction thanks to the pressure created by civil society in Malta and by foreign institutions. But not just Maltese law enforcement authorities, even foreign ones, not just European, are investigating certain activities in which Joseph Muscat was involved. And basically anything that he touched or his wife touched as far as the administration goes. Even last week there was an article from the Shift News about certain abusive practices, to put it very mildly, concerning Marigold Foundation, the foundation of his wife, where there was a certain behavior and definitely the foundation benefiting from hundreds of thousands of euro in donations from state entities. And then there was a certain upheaval in the committee, in the way the foundation was running. Basically, lack of accountability, lack of transparency, and abuse of monies which were supposedly donated for charitable purposes. So anything these two people touched was sleaze, cronyism, right? No wonder they lived, and they lived beyond their knees. But of course, there's always a limit, and slowly but surely the claws of justice will catch up.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It was very brief today, but I thank you both for coming here once again. I am with the Honourable Dr. Jason Azzopardi, the Honourable Dr. Therese Comodini Cachia. I wish you a lovely weekend, and I'll be with you again on Thursday night.